remind you as I turn that on that if you want to want me to, I'll pause the recording. If you have some feedback on one of our investment discussions that you don't want recorded so that it doesn't escape this room. But welcome. I love what we're doing. One of the things that I love about the Cherub Club is that we are, I kind of point this out, but like we're really doing it. And I am convinced we're getting better at it. We're learning from each other. And, we got Carl's great skepticism that's educating us, making us savvier and richer. So this is good stuff. So thank you all for being here. Let's see, Chris. We've got a couple people joining us now. Chloe, welcome. You are new to our group. We're going to go around and ask everyone to give us a little bit of a one-sentence introduction, but I'd like to start with you. Can you give us a quick introduction? Since you're new, welcome. We're thrilled to have you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. And my apologies for quiet space right now.
Chloe, we can't hear you very well. Is that just me?
No.
Chloe, I don't know if you can get
Hello,
closer
everyone.
to your microphone or speak up, but.
Okay, yes. So my apologies for the muted voice. It's my toddler's nap time, but I am new to the group. I am thankful to be a part of it. I have invested in a few real estate groups, such as Golden Trinity, which is doing Florida co-ops, and also I'm looking to expand with like a yacht business, but other things I'm looking forward to hearing. I'm newer to investing as well. So thank you for having me. I'm from New York.
Fantastic. We're thrilled to have you in the group, Chloe. Thank you very much for joining.
And my apologies for off screen as well. Next time I hope to be on screen.
Okay, that's great. No pressure, no pressure. We're just thrilled to have you there. Let's run around and ask everyone to give us maybe a quick intro and maybe one quick thing that's new and good in your life. Chandan, why don't we start with you today?
Hello everyone, I'm Chandan Shah from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I have been working as event technology manager for the Supercloud Incorporated. And the new and good things happening that last week I started a new job recommended by Devin, and thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Chandan is doing some work on a contract basis for the Crowdfunding Professional Association. So we're thrilled about that. Chris Cairns, do you want to go next? What's new and good in your house?
Well, I've been busy. The Rotary auction, which is our big fundraiser for the year, is this Saturday. So I've been extremely busy in that because, of course, that funds the projects we do in Africa.
Oh, yes. And you have been, over the years, done so many great things in Africa. I love it. Chris Miller, what's new and good at your house?
It's Chris squared, apparently. All right, Chris. So Chris Miller with the National Coalition for Community Capital. We had a fantastic conference here a week or so ago at the Michigan State University campus here in Michigan. 116 attendees from 17 states came, all to talk about community capital. So super excited about that. And related to that, right before the Wednesday before that event, the state of Michigan has again taken up our investment incentive legislation. So it's been introduced in the Senate. We're hopeful we get that done, as well as the cool CFPA project that is also working on a federal level, also on the investment incentive side of things. So
Yeah, I'm hoping. Well, one of the things that's almost certain is that some of the regulatory frictions for crowdfunding will be removed. I always worry that we'll go too far with this administration, but we don't want to take all the guardrails off. Carl would caution against that, I'm sure. Carl, what's new and good with you?
Um, I have been talking with a number of different communities about creating a smart city design, a broader definition, more of an international definition. And I'm advocating for implementation of Chris's community investment fund as the primary structure to make sure that the residents of the city can be both um, customers and stockholders of the city, which is creating all kinds of interesting secondary challenges and questions.
Oh, but that's exciting stuff. That's great. Patrice, you're in Haiti, so I know there are a few challenges, let us say, but new and good.
Well, you guys are doing some great work here. Um, um, well, right now I'm closing shop on one of our biggest projects, and and I just reinvested in my Ulster Farm investment through bonds. So that's all there is right now.
Okay. Well, Patrice and I did have last week a good conversation about creating a path that could support Haiti and some of the changes that may happen with regulation crowdfunding this year could end up supporting that. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Gail, what's new and good with you?
I'm not doing as wonderful things as all of you people are. You're doing incredible stuff. But I can say that spring has sprung here in Stockton. Winter is over, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Our winters are short, but that doesn't mean it doesn't drive me absolutely bonkers. I moved to California to get out of the cold. So when it's cold here, I am not a happy boy. I just got a note from Lewis. He's got to run a family member to the hospital, so he's not going to be with us. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. All righty. Thanks for taking the time for some quick introductions. I'm excited about what we've got going today. In part, I have to admit that although I'm not as well prepared as I would like to be, I'm better prepared than I sometimes am because Chandon's been so helpful this week in getting me ready for things. So even if you don't think I'm super well prepared, at least I'm excited because I've had a good chance to think through a lot of the stuff we're going over today, and I'm feeling good about it. So I'm grateful for that. I do want to thank everybody who takes the time to review those lists I send out so that you are choosing the companies we're reviewing each time. And I really appreciate that. I want to reiterate the invitation to all of you to invite a friend to join us and participate in the Impact Cherub Club. We're really making a difference. I think more and more of us are actually investing our money. This isn't just an academic exercise. We're making a difference. We're doing good. And my experience is making money. I realize, depending on which deals you've invested in, some of them don't pay off, but I'm really glad that we are working on this stuff together. Let me just drop into the chat a link to last month's meeting, the YouTube recording. That's not especially important, but maybe not entirely irrelevant. And then I just want to remind all of you that we maintain a log of the all our investments. So you can find those at log.impactcherub.com. So that's a URL you can remember if you want to see, if you're trying to remember, oh, what did we decide to invest in this month? That's the place to go. And so check it out. It's also, now that we've been doing this for a while, it's an interesting look back at what we have done over the years. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll be having our Super Crowd Hour. You can watch that at Superpowers for Good. Let me drop that in the chat, but you can watch it at Superpowers for Good, or you can watch it at the Super Crowd website, either one. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about how to build a venture capital style portfolio. And so, for those of you who are investing, you may find this really interesting. And so I invite you to consider joining us for that. It is genuinely interactive, though you watch it on YouTube. We've set up mechanisms for doing questions and all of that. So please join us. Let me share the link to today's the Superpowers for Good link. The chat keeps disappearing on me. I need to put it somewhere where it won't disappear. Here's the link. So that's kind of our agenda for today. I have added something that I didn't put in the agenda. We talked about this last month, and so we'll get to that in a minute. But remember, last month we decided to invest in the Windmill EV Market Hub opportunity. That's here if you want to invest in that one. We looked closely at Neighbor. That one was an intriguing offering, but we decided not to invest in that one. Carl walked us through the diligence on that one, and so that one was good. Today we're going to try something new. We talked about this a time or two ago, and I'm going to share a link and just walk you through very briefly. Let me turn the timer on, in fact, just so that I don't get carried away. I'm going to try and just give you 3 minutes on and kind of an informal opportunity. In the chat here, let me drop in yet another link. So this is the link to a recent Devon's Impact Pick of the Week. As Impact members, I think most of you, if not all of you, are Impact members of the Super Crowd, and so you have access to these Impact picks and should be getting them each Friday. And I want to just take a couple of minutes to quickly go over this one. I was looking at Lucas Behavioral Health. And this one is a really straightforward. And so what I want to do is bring in an extra investment opportunity to talk about each month. And the reason is pretty simple. The debt offerings usually don't last enough for our process. They're usually 30 days or less. And a 30-day cycle isn't enough for us to do our 2-meeting discussion of a deal. And so we're missing out as a club on all of these deals. So I asked, and you agreed that maybe it would be a good idea to have me, bring some of these in, because I invest in a lot of these deals and my portfolio is doing really well. The portfolio Gail and I have built, including a bunch of these deals. And so I hate for you to be left out. These are also deals that are often small local businesses that are doing some sort of social impact. So this one is a healthcare business. It's behavioral health. So this is kind of mental and behavioral health. The model is to make the healthcare a little more accessible and affordable by deploying nurse practitioner level caregivers and doing this. And the business is booming, right? It was started about 2 or 3 years ago, and they like nearly tripled the revenue last year. It's really growing. So they have taken on a big load of very expensive debt. I say big, they've got less than $100,000, but the interest rate, the average interest rate on their debt is on the order of 35%. That's the average. Their highest interest rate is like 56% that they're paying. So they're doing this SNDX loan, just reduce their interest rate and get their cost of debt down. And so that it's going to save them a fortune on interest. So good revenue growth. The company doesn't have huge margins, but we got a profitable business, growing business, healthcare, delivering affordable healthcare. This looks like a pretty high impact, high value deal. So you've got the link to this. Here's the question I have for you as a protocol now on these deals. So let's say we proceed to do these discussions where I just choose a deal to present to the club briefly. Do you want to vote on them in an official way as we have with our other deals? Or do you want to just take that as information that you may use individually? We can do it either way.
So Devin, I think it'd be fun to vote on them. I mean, I think it says something, whether anybody actually makes an investment or not. I think it says something about our collective thinking about it. So I think going through that exercise, I think we think about it a little bit differently if we're going to actually come down officially and say that we think this is a good idea or not. So I'd be certainly open to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Anyone object to that approach? Okay, I don't see any objection. So I'm going to go ahead and put this poll up. Now, part of the reason I think we can get away with this being brief each month is that my reports are sent out to all of our impact members in advance. So when we get here to this point, you can already have read the full, and my diligence reports on these deals are like 20 pages long. May not be Carl Dakin quality, but there's great volume of information in these deals. So I've got 3 people left to vote, 2 left to vote. There we go. Everyone has voted. Well, I think that's an interesting, encouraging response. 100% of you voted for doing that one. So I'll just make a note that we voted to do that one. That's a fun new conclusion. I'm kind of excited about that one. Now I feel bad about one aspect today of our discussion, and that is that I have volunteered to do the diligence report on today's company. And so, I didn't ever share that. There we go. I'm sharing the results now. There you go. You can see it really was 100%. Stop sharing. Where did I put my time? There's the timer. Okay, I'm going to give myself 6 minutes for the Rubetection report. So anyway, I apologize for monopolizing kind of the discussion here. I have prepared a lengthy, this really is, if you were to print it, and I would discourage you from doing that, but if you were to print it, it's a 20-page plus or minus report on root detection. And yes, I use AI for this. I am convinced that AI is not, of course, flawless, but it has some abilities to process data so much faster than I can that I appreciate it. Let me walk you through just my 7 points. I'll just share the screen here. Let's see, I think you can see my 7 points here. Is that right? Let's see. Chris, I can see you. Mr. Miller, can you see my screen? Okay. It looks like you can. So the ChatGPT gives root detection a 5 out of 10 rating. I will confess I have never invested in a deal that it gave a rating that low. 5.5 I've done a couple of times. So that is just below kind of the bubble. That when ChatGPT has given a rating as high as 8 to an investment opportunity. That's the highest it's ever given. So in a way, you could think of this rating as being 5 out of 10 or 5 out of 8 rather than 5 out of 10. 10 is a potential theoretical, but as a practical, maybe 8 is the highest score it can get. The company is doing something really cool, and it's so very high impact. They are developing a device that you place on a patient's skin to determine the quality of the skin and whether it is at risk for a rupture from like a bed sore. And what's interesting is that these risks are in very specific places. So you can check the 8 places where this problem is likely to occur very quickly. And this device is very objective, and it works for people who have darker skin tones. And the conventional method of pushing down on the skin, a nurse would push down on the skin and look at how the color changes. And that would be the guide they're using. It's very subjective and doesn't work well for people with dark skin tones. So this is a major leap forward if it works. Some of the initial, root detection, I've had quite a bit of interaction with the founder. She was on the Impact, she was one of the pitching companies at our live pitch just last week. And so I spent hours with her on that show. I spent hours with her in the preparation for that. And you may recall, she also attended our last Impact Cherub Club meeting. And I invited her to be a guest on my show, and we attempted to record an episode. We did not get it done. So I've had a lot of interaction with her. She is a brilliant PhD. She's got a PhD from Carnegie Mellon. And so, she is seriously smart, well qualified, but she has never done this kind of thing before. She's got a great advisory board that does include people who've done it before. So that's a strong point. The deal is a convertible note, and I strongly prefer a convertible note to a safe. It's very similar to a safe, and I know some of the people in the community are are big fans of safes because they are so founder friendly. But a convertible note is hardly punitive, but it is also more balanced in its benefits. The valuation at $10 million is not crazy given the market potential, but it is maybe a tiny bit optimistic because Santa has raised so little money at this point and is really a little bit more early stage than some of the WeFunder information suggests. They have never used AI to do this yet. So that the idea is that they are going to develop an AI model that can look at the scans and therefore determine whether the skin is at risk of a problem. This is a huge marketplace. That is certainly exciting, but the company is poorly capitalized. Their WeFunder campaign is not going well. She admits that with the regulatory approvals and the development cycle, that she's probably 2 or 3 years away from being able to actually generate any revenue. So she needs a lot of capital, and this crowdfunding campaign is not going to get her there. So with that, I think what questions do you have for me? We can take a question or two. I don't want to spend too much time, but questions?
Devin, after she was introduced to the group a month or so ago, I introduced her to a wound care doctor here in the Denver area.
Oh, great.
And they talked about what they had, and they had turned out they had been talking before I did the introduction.
Oh, that's great.
But the wound care doctor had chosen to go with a competing brand. And I don't want to take that as necessarily a negative data point, just that there is competition out there. She is not unique in what she's trying to do in going to market. And so just one piece of information for the crowd.
Yeah.
Devin,
Excellent.
I had a question on the FDA approval required. What are the challenges there? What does that look like in the grand scheme of things?
It's much easier than a drug, right? Because it's this tool is a diagnostic tool. It is not a treatment tool. You're not doing anything to a patient. But I think there is some requirement, right, that they demonstrate that it kind of sort of works and doesn't hurt people. And so it's not just a simple, register the device with the FDA, but it doesn't require the 3-tiered drug approval process that goes through, that takes a decade. It's more of a year-long process once they have a ready to work demonstrable device.
Is her IP protected?
That's a great question. I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
Any other questions quickly before we vote? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the poll up and ask you to respond. Okay, I think there's one person left to vote. There we go. Okay, so most of us felt like this one was not one that we should do. I really wanted this to be one that I could get excited about. That was my bias and my starting point. But I have to confess, I didn't try to hide this, but yeah, I probably would agree with those who voted not to do this one, despite its the upside potential. I think we've just got too much risk in that. Next, I want to walk through a quick post-mortem recap of one of our dead deals. And I'm going to try and do this very quickly. Let's see, let me get that timer back up so I don't get carried away. Timer. So we won't have time to go in depth in this analysis, but let me just quickly share a couple of links and encourage you to take a minute to look this stuff over. But so the first link here I'm going to share is a link to a recap of our discussion about Von Perry from 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago. I think the business went out of business very quickly. It did not last long. And, in hindsight, there are some pretty obvious reasons. And then the second link that I just dropped in about Von Perry is a link to an analysis of Jackie Logan's joining us. I'm thrilled Jackie's going to join us. But the second thing is an analysis that I had ChatGPT do of the Form C with the full knowledge that the deal had failed. So what are the red flags we could have identified from the Form C? And so looking at the first document, our discussion, we did a good job of that discussion. We really went through a lot of good things. But here's an interesting thing that came up in the discussion. There were members who explicitly said, if I were really voting on how I would invest my money, I would vote no. But I'm talking about how you should invest your money, and I think you should do it. And I think we have moved on from that as a club. I think we're a little better at saying, at least let me pretend I'm going to invest and make the analysis based on that presumption. Whether or not I actually do, I will make that vote. So I think in hindsight, I think we might have voted differently. There was another dynamic that was interesting, and that is that we had just the month before seen another. This was a 3D home building printing deal, right? So this Von Perry, had equipment that it took on site, and it built a house just by squirting out the goo onto walls and building it up, making a house. And we had done a deal like that the month before. That one was factory built 3D printed homes. And that deal, Azure Printed Homes, is doing very well. A couple of red flags. Forgive me, I'm going to go over just a little bit. I'll try and be fast. Because we only had one real deal to look at today, forgive me. The company had almost no cash. And the minimum raise on their crowdfunding campaign was only $10,000. And so there was a very real risk, and I think that's what happened, that they would raise almost no money. We voted to put money into a deal that quickly closed without any real success, and then they went out of business. That was probably the biggest red flag we could have spotted. Of course, 3D printed homes is a brand new technology, an unproven market. So, we maybe should have factored in a little more risk there. Of course, it's an exciting space. So, there's also the other side of that coin. It could have been a big opportunity. The leadership team was just a couple of kids. I shouldn't call them that. Very young people. And so that was an aspect that maybe we could have factored in a little more. But a lot of the other red flags that ChatGPT identified for us are the kinds of red flags you would see in every single deal, right? If you're going to bet on a company, you know, the reality is a new venture style business looks more like it's going out of business for the first years. I mean, on paper, the financial statements generally look like this company will fail, right? Right, especially the balance sheets, right? Think about the balance sheet at the accumulated losses at Facebook, because they went 2 or 3 years before they did anything that generated revenue, and it's one of the most successful businesses of our lifetimes, right? So we have to be a little bit careful not to get too carried away looking at the red flags, because a lot of them are very customary. But still, entrepreneurs with no relevant experience tackling something as hands-on, as capital intensive as this, challenging. Poorly capitalized business in a capital intensive business, that should have been a bigger red flag for us. So a couple of things there. Anyway, so that's that. I think it's important for us to do this. I'm happy to do the postmortems. And I think that's how we ought to use kind of what we've traditionally used as our education moment time in these meetings, to do a little bit. Does someone else want to volunteer to do a postmortem next month? And I like doing both successes and failures. We may get to a point where we run out. We may have to skip a month once in a while, but anybody want to volunteer, or should I do it?
Excuse me, Devin. For the Von Perry, how did we find out they went out of business? We reach out to them, or?
No, it's we did some online research to determine that they were no longer operating. So there's a tiny chance that somehow we still have an investment in something that could resurrect, but it appears that they've gone out of business.
So Devin, in your postmortem, did you use AI assistance to identify the topics that you put into your report, or how did you do that?
Yes. So I asked ChatGPT to review the Form C for red flags that we could have spotted that might have told us this would be a bad deal. And so it came, some of them I think were really valid. We might have done a better job looking at those, but some of the red flags are just, like I say, some of those customary red flags that are in every single venture type deal.
So did they file their annual report as required under Reg CF 1 year after their offering? Do you know?
I don't think they did. I was looking at their filings, and I didn't pull it down and didn't specifically look for it, but I did look at the filings, and I did not see the CAR filed. And I should note that it is possible that they didn't close, that they might have withdrawn the offering, and it didn't close. I hate to put anybody on the spot, but I checked my portfolio. I did not attempt an investment in this one. Now, sadly, I was checking in Azure Printed Homes, which is the other printed homes deal that we looked at the month before. I also didn't invest in, and that one's doing great. So that would have been a really good investment. Those two might fully offset one another. But did any of you invest in Von Perry? Okay. So it may be that none of us actually did. But in any case, I think the lessons are there for us to learn from, and that's how we're going to get to be better. I'll plan on doing the postmortem again next month. Okay. Yeah.
There's one comment I just wanted to mention.
Mhm.
So the chat GBT, when they said that one of the lessons, avoid startups that rely entirely on crowdfunding money to stay afloat.
Yeah, I'm less convinced that that's true. I do think of crowdfunding as being primarily a complement to other sources of capital, whether that's bank loans or other more conventional things, or even venture capital. But there are a few businesses that I've seen, including one that we invested in, that I think has raised all of its capital from the crowd. The one I'm thinking of is oh, crumb. Let me pull it up. But I think one of our very first investments was in Jewel Case back in 2022. And I don't believe they've raised any capital any other way than crowdfunding. And they're killing it. They're growing, great balls of fire. They're doing great. So that's one of our big wins, it appears at this stage.
Yeah, and I think
So I'm a
AI,
little less convinced, but I see ChatGPT's point, right?
but it's
Especially,
more of a prompting it, and giving them examples of because it's also learning. The AI is
yeah,
also learning about past experiences. I know
yeah,
crowdfunding it could be a good seed generator,
yeah.
so it's
I
not
think,
totally discounted.
yeah, that's right. I think part of the challenge is, in this case, this was a capital intensive business, and they set their minimum requirement at 10 grand. We should have known, we should have identified that if that's all they raised, this would be a failure, right?
So
They needed to raise $500,000 at least to really have a shot to be able to do anything in a real capital intensive business like this, building and buying, renting equipment, et cetera, et cetera. They needed more money. So, but we're all learning, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here to share wisdom from and with one another, and also to learn from one another. So I think this has been good. Let's take a look now at the deals that we are considering for next month and decide whether or not to proceed. And I messed up my list here. Let me go to this list here. I apologize. I thought it was.
Devin, while you're working on that, I had a question for you. Since you're the gold standard in investing for this group, how many deals have you invested in? How many are you carrying in your current portfolio? Kind of a understanding of how many deals you're watching, managing, and investing in. I know we talked about investing once a month, so I was curious as to where you're at in your current scorecard.
That's a great question. Gail and I have invested now in about 70 deals. Probably 6 or 7 are dead. 2 are completely paid off profitably. And many, we've done a lot of debt deals. And I'm very fortunate. My friend Brian Belay at King's Crowd said he did one debt deal and they quickly defaulted. I've done, I don't know, 20 debt deals at least, and I haven't had one late payment. So I love these debt deals because the average rate of return I'm getting on those debt deals is above 10%. I've done a few at 6, 7, and 9, but most are at 10, 11, 12, 14. I think I even did a 15. So it's the returns seem to be doing really well on those deals. But I've been fortunate. I checked just this morning. I invested just before we started the Impact Cherub Club in Aptera. And Aptera is still plugging away. and they're raising now at a valuation 40% above where I invested. So that was my biggest investment. That was in a Reg A offering, and their minimum was pretty high, and I scared me to death. But that one's doing well. So my portfolio appears on a portfolio basis to be worth at least what I put in. Still early days. It's only been 3 years since I made the first investment in that portfolio. So anyway,
You've
sorry,
got
I
about
went on.
you got about 60 deals currently that
Yeah.
are still live and active. Okay.
Yeah. And so with that many, I'm not going to pretend that I'm keeping track of them in any active way. And so one of the risks is that I may think I have no defaults, and it's possible that I've got a default in my debt portfolio and just missed the email or something. So our first deal today is that we're going to look at for next month is Mint. Click the share sound. But it's this Mint Systems West Sacramento EV rechargery. We did a deal with Mint Systems just a little bit ago. What was it, a month? Yeah, it was last month. We decided to invest in this. So this one, if we decide next month to invest in this one, it would be 2 months apart. I have invested in 2 or 3 with a company called Ovanova off of the Climatize website. And so, you know, there's a little bit of concentration of risk going on here, but these folks are doing EV chargers. And, you know, there are increased risks because of this administration cutting off some of the funding. But on the other hand, it's also an opportunity for us to fill a gap that is being created by the new administration for funding climate solutions. So 9% interest rate, you know, may or may not be great. I haven't looked into this in any detail yet. So I don't want to give you the impression that I've got this all figured out, but do we have, and there's not a video I'd play it. Well, yeah, these videos, like this is a video about their last deal that we already invested in. Do you want to, does somebody want to volunteer to diligence this one? Anyone?
I diligence.
Patrice.
the
Oh, I
last-
hear.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Jackie.
No, I diligence the last one, but because I have a conflicting meeting at this time all the time, I didn't jump on in time and you guys had already,
Yeah.
it's, my guess is it might be structured the same way, with the same developer, because that was their first EV charging. They never had done EV charging before. That was their first. So maybe this is basically the same thing, but at a different location.
Yeah. The interesting thing about these guys is it looks to me, I may be wrong, but they're doing another project like a block from our house, where
Well,
we
you
live.
can go down and inspect.
Yes, well, I have many times. I drive by it every day, look at it, because I have an electric car and I want to charge there. So it's the same branding. I don't know. It's possible that Mint Systems is not deploying these chargers. They may be like, I think the ChargePoint charging network, those are all independently owned, and it's sort of a kind of a franchise model, and that may be the case with these. So Mint Systems may not be involved with the amp chargers going in by me. But anyway, Jackie, if you and Patrice partnered on this, that would be great. And if you'll remind me, we'll push your report late in the meeting instead of doing it early in the meeting. So
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm not going to be here for the next one.
Oh no.
Yes, I'm going to be, my son is getting married in Korea.
Oh my gosh, talk about a destination wedding. Holy cow.
Yes, yeah. So, well, he is marrying a gal whose family is from there, and I'm just getting it in my head that I will, I will be gone from the 12th through the 27th.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
Patrice, can we rely on you then to do that one? I'll
Yeah,
put you
yeah.
down.
I'll take that on.
I really appreciate your tackling that. So making a note here, forgive me. Now the other one that we were going to look at is Primo Health Partners. Let me pull that up. I think they may have a video. Am I still sharing? I think I'm still sharing. No, they don't have a video either. So it's a virtual healthcare provider offering subscription-based access to urgent primary. So yeah, they're combining AI with nurse practitioners and doctors to make kind of a human AI assisted online medical care accessible. It seems like a really good idea. I can't imagine there aren't a lot of people trying this, but looks like we've got a diverse founder, a cool technology. What do you think? Anybody interested in taking a look at that one for us? Anybody? Anybody? Any volunteers? Okay, I am. Oh, Patrice, you want to do two?
Yeah, I'll take that on too.
Okay, well, Patrice, thank you very much. I'll put you down.
Yeah, I'm curious about it, about the health part.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. This is kind of the future. I have almost no doubt. I know some of you are not big fans of AI, and I get that, but I read a study recently about diagnosis of disease, and it was a very small study, but they asked doctors to diagnose a disease, gave the doctors and ChatGPT the same fact set. And ChatGPT crushed them. And even when the doctors were told to use ChatGPT to support their diagnoses, they still didn't do as well as ChatGPT. Now, partly it was that these doctors had never been trained on how to use ChatGPT properly, and they kind of used it like a Google search. So they were asking nuanced little questions instead of dumping all the data, all the information on ChatGPT. So if they'd been trained, they would have, I think, beaten ChatGPT. But it points out the potential for the AI just to process more data than humans can process quickly. And then if we can layer on good judgment on top of that, boy, I think we have a game changer. So I think that's going to be the future. Whether this company, Primo Health, is the winner is another question, but that'll be fun to look at. Patrice, thank you very much for your willingness to dive in on these two. I know Jackie's got the wedding coming up, and I've got Super Crowd LA coming up on May 1st. So I don't want to jump in and volunteer to do anything extra in April.
No, I'm furloughed by Trump, so I got time.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for deploying your time for good. I appreciate that. All righty, folks. Our next meeting will be, let me check. I forgot. I was so proud of my preparation and I didn't get to the bottom of the page. That's just terrible. Next month, we are meeting on the 15th. The 15th. So 4 weeks from today. Tax day here in the US. So I will look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you all being here, and we're getting done 3 minutes early.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.